with Austin Hannon. I am Mason Smith, and this is Just a Minute. Austin, the top 5 picks of the NFL draft are now confirmed in terms of the teams and who's selecting where. Just to make sure, it's Chicago, Houston, Arizona, Indianapolis, and in Seattle by way of the Russell Wilson trade. So, Austin, there's a lot of talk about Bryce Young probably being the first pick because Houston was in that position for a long time. They needed a quarterback. Everybody knows that. But now with Chicago being number one overall pick, it kind of makes it seem like, well, they have Justin Fields. There may be a chance to take Will Anderson. Maybe a chance they take Jalen Carter. It's a lot of options, for that first few picks now that the order is confirmed. But the question still remains, Bryce and Will are going top 5. So, Austin, who is going first, Bryce or Will?
I think this is going to be really interesting. I'm glad we're talking about this today. It kind of played out funny in the last week of the NFL season. Obviously, everybody thought it was going to be Houston, but they snuck out that win over Indianapolis, who also has a top 5 pick. And that slotted the Bears into the first pick. And so now the biggest winner of this whole thing is the Chicago Bears because, look, this year they weren't great, obviously, but they got Justin Fields. He looks like he might be on the come up. They don't necessarily need Bryce Young or CJ Stroud right now. And they're probably going to go get Jalen Carter from Georgia or Will Anderson. So now with this, though, everybody wants that first pick because they want Bryce Young, mostly talking about Houston. So now Chicago can play a little trade game with the Texans and say, well, I know we're not going to draft Bryce anyways, but you want to trade for the first pick just so that we can get Jalen Carter or Will Anderson plus something else for the first pick. And the Texans might be like, well, that's kind of mean. Like, you're not going to draft Bryce Young anyways. Can we just wait till the second pick to get him? But the Bears obviously will say no because they can get something out of it. So the Bears are the big winners here. I think they win either way, getting Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. I do think Bryce still ends up in Houston, whether that's Houston staying at number 2 and taking him second, or if they have to trade up and get him at number 1. I still think that Bryce Young goes to Houston. I do like Will Anderson in Chicago. I think they'll probably lean Jalen Carter, meaning Will Anderson will probably fall to either the Cardinals or Colts. Maybe the Seahawks. Shout out Joey. Maybe if he falls to 5, probably not. But I think Will Anderson in Arizona would be a good fit.
Honestly, I couldn't agree with you more. I do think that Chicago may try to use some trade bait, but obviously they're gonna know they're not gonna take Bryce Young. They're not gonna take
the Bears are not gonna take Bryce Young. There's no way.
They're not taking a quarterback with Justin Fields. If they take a quarterback and Justin Fields is still on the roster,
no way.
All hell's gonna break loose. But
unless they said, hey, look, maybe Bryce Young's better than Justin Fields. Maybe we'll trade Justin Fields. God. I mean, they can play games with it, but I really don't think they'll trade.
I don't think so either. So to be completely honest, I do think it's gonna be a tough conversation, but I think Will Anderson will still ultimately be the first person off the board if Chicago goes defense and they don't go with Jalen Carter. He's gonna be the first person off the board. But if Houston probably even they go with Jalen Carter, Bryce Young will definitely be the first person off the board. He's the best quarterback in this draft. I think everybody's kind of scared about Ohio State quarterback in general, even though Justin Fields did well. So I do think in the name of the question that we asked, Bryce Young will be the first person off the board if Will Anderson does not go to Chicago. So
last thing about Bryce Young, we've been talking about him to Houston all year, basically, just because of how bad the Texans have been. We've already got Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa. You got Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. How about Bryce Young and John Mechie if Mechie can get back? You could have another Alabama duo.
Honestly, it might just be a thing to have Bama duos on Bama.
It might be.
It might be. It's too many. But of course, if the draft is months away, we look forward to see who's going to make it. Either team, either way that goes, both of those guys are deserving to pick. But with Austin Hannon, I'm Mason Smith. This has been Just a Minute. Thank you so much for watching.